Greetings, patrons, friends. A small video reflection on confrontation and all that swirls around how we might move into it, how we hold it, how we facilitate it for our own healing, for the healing of others, for the healing of a world that I believe needs more interfacing, more confident, grounded, moving into these very tensions that weigh down our past, that weigh down our day-to-day, that float and stay inside of us because of the discomfort in going into them, and the valid pain and fear and all the things that make it really hard to go into them. That is all valid. There's three themes I'm just going to couch it in. These are themes that I've carried with me deeply from my studies in the Living School and just of Ken Wilber and the integral stuff that he has inspired. But they're more just, I've outfitted them more in my own way to the specifics of this conversation. And they are showing up, waking up, and growing up. And so just imagining yourself as, you know, in the unique particular dimensions of those relationships you carry, or those people that you carry in your past or in your present, and thinking about these themes as a possible way, as a healing, transformative way of holding that space of confrontation. And I think about the first, and I put them in this order very specifically, but the nature of showing up, that to be in person with this relationship in all of its complexity, to be thoughtful of or mindful of showing up at some point and holding sacred ground, that your body, that your presence, that your physical arrival to literally share proximity, physical proximity with someone who's hurt you or hurt others or has caused pain in a certain way. You know, I imagine it as a 600-year black walnut tree or just deeply rooted tree with the weight of the world keeping its ground, that the roots go far and go deep. That you imagine yourself rooted in the soil all the way down to the core of the earth, and that you are unshakable in loving yourself, in knowing your truth to the best that you can, in the presence of the why, the big why behind why this confrontation is so important. And that you're even undefended to some degree, that it's that you have found ground in you, that you have found a love and a capacity to accept you and your place in the world, to emit oxygen and take in and sometimes breathe in some of the toxicity, to be a processor, a healer. That you know, there's no perfect path for that, but that is an element of how you're showing up. That you are to imagine yourself as a rooted tree that is going to hold ground, that can be okay with periods and moments of silence. That your breathing is calm and consistent and necessary. And that the showing up is also thinking about the environment, that, you know, whether, you know, I always encourage, I know for myself, but just for others, that nature, it's a nature-based environment where you have the elements of the trees and the sky and the water all playing into the favor of the tension, that all these things are made to heal and absorb and work with mystery and life and transitions and seasons, that there is a natural order to adapting and growing, and the branch that gets thrown by the wind that still grows up, and the waters that ripple and crash on each other, and the animals that Sorry, it is lightly raining here, so at some point if it gets heavy, I might get out of here. So this showing up, the possibility, the opportunity in physically rooting yourself into a space where you are undefended, unshakable, and grounded. The next is waking up. And the purpose and the intention of this confrontation is to shake the ground. While you are unshakable and rooted, you are still shaking the ground. You are anchored in what is true for you. You are anchored in the pain that you've carried. You are anchored in needing to emit and to share and to speak words and themes that matter. That you matter, your life matters, that the life of others matter. To simply emit that this matters, naming it, putting words to it in sacred proximity to the person or the situation that is on the receiving or on the alongside end. That there's an injustice in not naming it because it keeps it in. You continue to carry it. You carry the burden and the pain of others. I think about Richard Rohr's quote, I carry it with me all the time, if we do not transform our own pain, we will surely transmit it. So the waking up is not only a waking up for the person or the people or the situation that brought the pain into our world, but that the waking up is also the releasing of it inside of us. That as we carry it, it will manifest in stress, in reaction, and it will transmit into other people in our life because we still carry the weight, that it actually takes up space inside of us. So the waking up, the theme of waking up, is that we are waking up to the fact that I no longer need to carry all this. And it is not okay that I was given this. It's not okay that this other person or the people or the situation was taking on your pain. That is not okay. So the many, many things that never get said, the many things that stay inside, what does that do? And so the waking up rattles that ground so that it comes out and it's named. The third thing is growing up. This is an important one for me as someone who just spends a lot of time thinking about how to go deeper inside of these things. But it's also holding, it's almost like one hand is holding the goal, or not even the goal, the presence to the words, the presence to the tree, to yourself is the tree, the presence to the waking up, the presence to the showing up, that one hand is there and that the other hand is in this space of growing up, that it's reaching out. It's reaching out into a big field, into the big ocean, into the big sky and the overpass and the valleys and the grasses, into these places and these dimensions that we just simply don't know. We are not in the other person's shoes. We didn't grow up. We didn't have the experiences they had. There are things that you will never know, and that they will never know about you. So what at some point is beyond even your own pain and your own agenda and your own goals and your own, that there is a dimension of healing that is available to all beyond the task or the holding of the ground. That there's at least the acknowledgement of growing up. It's under the lens of growing up because it grows us into this fact that we all have shadows, that we all struggle, that we all have secrets to some degree, that we all are fighting to understand how we love each other better, how we love ourselves better, and that we get it wrong all the time. And that there are people transmitting their pain to each other all the time. But that is not just an isolated situation, that it's a universal reality. So what does a big God, a big spirit, a big nature-based embrace look like for this space of confrontation, this space of meeting the tension? confronting the tension. The big bald eagle, the rolling waters, the heron that stays silent waiting for the fish, like all these things in nature that speak a different language around what is right and what is wrong. That there is this endless horizon into the unknown, that we cannot control it, and we cannot control this other person or even ourselves to some degree. That we don't, that it's the spontaneous, the unknown, the uncertainties surround us at all times. I love Rumi's quote, out beyond ideas of wrongdoing and right doing, there is a field, and I'll meet you there. What does that mean for you? What does that mean for the person that you're confronting? What does that mean for the things that are moving in between? So it's almost like we're not necessarily living only in that place, because there are things that we need to move into. There are things that we trust that need to happen. There are things that we want to be freed from. There are things that we need to name. There are things that, so all this stuff is valid. But if we don't have an arm or a branch or a leaning into that space, then it can become so quickly turned into a blaming match. You did this, I did that, tit for tat, reaction, duality. And it ultimately just gives us the excuse, if we are not holding that space, that we are somehow graced without shadows, our own shadows, that our own accountability to our own actions is less important, is less involved. I mean, you can add that layer to so many different things. So just some thoughts, a reflection, this showing up, waking up, growing up, that how are those themes floating in the weight that you carry around someone else's pain? Whatever that is, however that is, that these questions might stir in you a way of showing up, waking up, and growing up in a meaningful, healthy, and so particularly unique to you. There's a lot of grace for all the details. This is not a light reflection, I'm aware of that. And I would be happy to hold space with you if these themes are resonating or vibrating, or maybe even feeling threatening, because I know there are triggers connected to any form of confrontation, depending on the particulars. So I see those. So by no means is this generalizing or making it into something that's simple. It's more just reflecting on themes that I find to be helpful. Peace, friends.